Team 15 of 52 teams of 8 rival wisdoms. Help make America wiser and kinder with antique quotes that have passed the test of time to make humanity great, with words of wisdom to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. Give your kids a competitive edge with faster reading skills with timed practice videos, alpha cipher puzzles to learn letters, words and phrases, and repetitive easy math to help us all grow wiser and kinder. Team Quote 15.1. What we think we become. Buddha 567 BC 484 BC. This profound quote from Buddha encapsulates a fundamental principle of Buddhist philosophy and psychological insight, emphasizing the powerful connection between our thoughts and our reality. The simplicity of the statement belies its deep wisdom. Buddha suggests that our mental patterns and habitual thoughts are not mere passive experiences, but active shapers of our character, actions, and ultimately our life's trajectory. It implies that consciousness is not static, but a dynamic force that continuously creates and transforms our personal reality. In Buddhist philosophy, this concept is closely related to the principle of mind precedes all mental states, the idea that our thoughts are the fundamental architects of our experiences. The quote suggests that our thoughts have creative power. Consistent thought patterns ultimately define our character. We have the ability to transform ourselves through conscious mental discipline. Our inner world directly influences our external circumstances. This perspective places significant emphasis on personal responsibility and self-awareness. It suggests that by carefully cultivating positive, constructive thoughts, we can fundamentally alter our being and our experience of life. The quote transcends its Buddhist origins, resonating with psychological concepts of neuroplasticity and cognitive behavioral approaches that recognize how our thinking patterns shape our perceptions, behaviors, and ultimately our lived experience. Team Quote 15.2. Sin has many tools, but a lie is the handle which fits them all. Edmund Burke 1729–1797. This powerful quote by Edmund Burke, the Irish statesman, author, and philosopher, offers a profound moral insight into the destructive nature of dishonesty. Burke uses a compelling metaphorical image, comparing a lie to a universal tool handle that can manipulate and enable various forms of wrongdoing. The metaphor suggests that lying is not just a singular act, but a fundamental mechanism that enables and facilitates numerous harmful actions. By describing a lie as a handle that fits all the tools of sin, Burke implies that dishonesty is the primary enabler of moral transgressions. A lie can conceal other wrongdoings, manipulate perceptions, justify unethical actions, undermine trust, facilitate further moral compromises. As a key figure of the Enlightenment and a moral philosopher, Burke was deeply concerned with ethical behavior and social integrity. This quote reflects his belief that honesty is fundamental to personal and social moral health. The statement goes beyond a simple moral admonition. It suggests that the act of lying is often more corrosive than the specific actions it might hide. The lie becomes the primary mechanism of moral corruption, serving as the instrument through which other sins are enacted and concealed. Team Quote 15.3. Those that vow the most are the least sincere. Richard Sheridan 1751–1816. Let's explore the layers of meaning in this perceptive observation from Richard Brinsley Sheridan, an influential figure in 18th-century British theatre and politics. His quote suggests a fundamental truth about human nature and the relationship between words and sincerity. To understand the depth of this insight, we should first consider the nature of vows themselves. A vow is essentially a solemn promise or commitment, traditionally carrying significant moral or social weight. When someone makes a vow, they're declaring their intentions publicly and binding themselves to a future action or behavior. Sheridan's observation becomes particularly meaningful when we examine the psychology behind excessive promising. People who frequently make elaborate vows might be compensating for an internal lack of conviction or commitment. This compensation mechanism often manifests when someone feels insecure about their genuine intentions or abilities. It's similar to how a person might speak loudly to mask nervousness, or how someone might overemphasize their credentials when they feel inadequate. The historical context adds another dimension to this insight. Sheridan lived and worked in an era of elaborate social conventions and political maneuvering. As both a playwright and a member of parliament, he would have regularly encountered individuals whose flowery promises and dramatic declarations served as a facade for ulterior motives. His plays, particularly The School for Scandal, frequently satirized this very behavior in British society. This principle extends well beyond Sheridan's time and applies to many aspects of human interaction. In relationships, those who constantly proclaim their loyalty might be the ones most likely to betray trust. In business, those who make the grandest promises might be the least reliable partners. In politics, those who make the most sweeping pledges might be the least likely to fulfill them. Looking at it through a modern lens, we might compare it to social media behavior, where the most effusive public declarations of friendship or love don't always reflect the deepest or most genuine relationships. The truly sincere often let their actions speak louder than their words. What makes this observation particularly valuable is its usefulness as a practical heuristic for evaluating sincerity. It suggests that we should perhaps be more trusting of quiet conviction than loud proclamation. The truly sincere person, confident in their intentions and commitments, rarely feels the need to repeatedly declare them. Team quote 15.4. A good heart is better than all the heads in the world. Robert Bulwer-Lytton, 1831–1891. This quote from Edward Robert Bulwer-Lytton, who wrote under the pen name Owen Meredith, expresses a profound preference for compassion and emotional intelligence over pure intellectual capacity. As Viceroy of India and a poet, Bulwer-Lytton would have seen firsthand how decisions made purely from intellectual calculation, without consideration for human impact, could lead to problematic outcomes. His sentiment suggests that empathy, kindness, and moral character, a good heart, ultimately contribute more to human welfare than brilliant but potentially cold reasoning, all the heads. This perspective challenges the common prioritization of cognitive intelligence over emotional intelligence. It's particularly relevant today when we grapple with questions about artificial intelligence and automated decision-making systems that may have tremendous computational power but lack the nuanced understanding and compassion that come from having a good heart. The quote also reflects a broader philosophical debate about the relative importance of reason versus emotion in guiding human behavior and decision-making. While the Enlightenment emphasized rational thought, Bulwer-Lytton's view aligns more with Romantic-era thinking, which valued emotional truth and moral intuition. What's your perspective on this balance between heart and head in decision-making? Team quote 15.5. Nothing is a waste of time if you use the experience wisely. Auguste Rodin, 1840–1917. This reflection from Auguste Rodin, the renowned French sculptor, reveals a deeply optimistic and practical approach to life's experiences. Coming from an artist who spent countless hours working and reworking his sculptures, sometimes facing criticism and setbacks, this perspective feels particularly authentic. The wisdom lies in understanding that value isn't inherent in time spent, but rather in how we process and learn from our experiences. Even apparent failures or diversions can become valuable if we extract lessons from them. Rodin himself demonstrated this through his artistic journey. His early rejections from the École des Beaux-Arts could have been seen as wasted time, but instead became part of his development as an innovative sculptor who would eventually create masterpieces like The Thinker and The Kist. This philosophy applies well beyond art. A failed business venture, an ended relationship, or even time spent on a project that never materialized, all can provide insights, skills, and understanding that prove valuable in unexpected ways. The key lies in the latter part of the quote. If you use the experience wisely, this suggests an active rather than passive approach to experience, not just letting things happen to us, but consciously processing and learning from them. What experiences in your life initially seemed like wasted time but later proved valuable through the lessons they taught? Team quote 15.6. The dreadful burden of having nothing to do. Nicolas Despreaux, 1636–1711. Nicolas Boileau Despreaux, the influential French poet and critic, captures here a profound paradox of human nature, that idleness, which might seem desirable, can become its own form of torment. The irony in calling having nothing to do a burden speaks to our fundamental need for purpose and engagement. Despreaux was writing in an era when the aristocracy often faced this very problem, having wealth and leisure but lacking meaningful occupation. As a literary critic and poet who was consistently engaged in intellectual work, he would have understood the contrast between purposeful activity and empty time. This observation remains remarkably relevant today. Despite, or perhaps because of, our modern obsession with productivity and busyness, many people still experience the psychological weight of purposelessness. We see this in retirement, during periods of unemployment, or even on vacation, times when the absence of obligation can paradoxically become stressful. The quote also hints at a deeper truth about human psychology, that we often find more satisfaction in striving and doing than in achieving and resting. It's reminiscent of what psychologists now call flow states, where engagement in meaningful activity creates a sense of fulfillment. What do you think about this perspective on idleness? Have you ever experienced the weight of having nothing meaningful to occupy your time? Team quote 15.7. Beware of missing chances. Otherwise it may be altogether too late someday. Franz Liszt 1811 to 1886. This warning from Franz Liszt, the virtuoso pianist and composer, carries particular weight coming from someone who seized so many opportunities in his own life. As a musical innovator who transformed both piano technique and compositional form, Liszt understood firsthand the importance of recognizing and acting on pivotal moments. The quote's structure is interesting. It moves from immediate caution, beware, to a more ominous future consequence, altogether too late someday. This progression mirrors how missed opportunities often affect us. What seems like a small decision to postpone or avoid action can accumulate into permanent regret. Liszt's perspective was likely shaped by the competitive and rapidly evolving musical world of 19th-century Europe. As both a performer and composer, he would have seen talented musicians fade into obscurity after missing key opportunities, while others rose to prominence by seizing their moments. His own career was built on recognizing and embracing innovative possibilities in music. The universal truth here extends beyond music or art. It applies to personal relationships, career decisions, education, and virtually any aspect of life where opportunities present themselves. The quote suggests that opportunities aren't infinite. They exist in specific moments and can pass irretrievably. Have you encountered moments in your life where you recognized the importance of seizing an opportunity before it slipped away? Team quote 15.8. By denying scientific principles, one may maintain any paradox. Galileo Galilei 1564 to 1642. This observation from Galileo Galilei, the renowned Italian astronomer and physicist, addresses a fundamental principle of rational inquiry and scientific methodology. As one of the pioneers of the scientific method, Galileo understood how rejecting evidence-based reasoning could lead to the acceptance of any illogical conclusion. The statement's relevance extends far beyond Galileo's time and his specific conflict with religious authorities over heliocentrism. In our contemporary context, it speaks to the importance of maintaining scientific principles as the foundation for understanding reality and making informed decisions. When individuals or organizations disregard scientific principles, they often create self-reinforcing systems of belief that can justify any position, regardless of its contradiction with observable evidence. This phenomenon manifests in various modern contexts, from climate change denial to resistance against evidence-based medicine. The key insight in Galileo's statement is the connection between scientific principles and logical consistency. Scientific methodology, with its emphasis on empirical evidence, reproducible results, and systematic observation, serves as a crucial framework for distinguishing between valid and invalid conclusions. Without these principles, one loses the objective criteria necessary for evaluating claims. Consider the implications for modern decision-making in business, policy, and technology. Organizations that maintain strong adherence to scientific principles typically make more effective decisions, as they base their choices on verifiable data rather than unsupported assumptions or wishful thinking. Free easy extra advantage math, spelling and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com or buy at educationstopshate.com. Free easy math wisdom workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. You'll get plenty of repetitive practice of age ranges and averages of our 52 teams of 8 quote authors. Free easy alpha Cypher coded puzzles teach letters, numbers and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. Can you decode this Cypher quote of encouragement using either our learning to spell or just for fun instructions? And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. We offer printed versions and timed videos with background music. Sign up for free weekly emails of 52 teams of antique rival wisdom workbooks with easy math, spelling, and reading practice. And if you'd like to get paid for sharing our wearable wisdoms, keep this in mind. Everyone I know wears a shirt and most of us change them daily, so change your shirt and change the world. Social equalities are blatantly subliminal antique positive wisdoms repetitively shared without saying a word. This applies to all our wearable shareable wisdoms, like pretty witty baby onesies and baby tees that you and others will see and read multiple times a day. The same is true with pretty witty kids, but they'll also share these wisdoms with anyone that can read at daycare or school. Youthful truths let your kids gain confidence sharing antique wisdoms with their friends. Imagine them sharing words of wisdom with classmates and teachers. Therefore I think tees I wear is a super easy way to share words of wisdom that have passed the test of time. Our social equalities help make us all wiser and kinder with blatantly subliminal messages promoting a more fair and equal opportunity society for all. And don't forget our giftwisdoms.com for birthdays and holidays that makes it easy to share the wisdom with clothing, coffee mugs, and magnets. So do the future a favor by encouraging, educating, and entertaining with words of wisdom that have passed the test of time to make us all wiser and kinder. With wearable wisdoms to fit babies, kids, and adults, you can clothe a whole family, city, or state. Join the 52 of 8 today.